So, all right, I'd like to get started again. We do have a few questions that were submitted in advance. And the first one that I'd like to use is actually from the live room yesterday. It's one of the first questions that we got, but I tagged it as an investment question. So here's a question from Eric, and he said, could you address indexed equity annuities? Should we consider them as a way to minimize the risks of market corrections?
That's actually one of the very specific subjects I addressed in my book, Your Only Guide You'll Ever Need to Alternative Investments. Annuities, let's start with that, can be very good products. We recommend them in certain specific situations because they can provide a guaranteed income stream and can help reduce tail risks from black swan events like COVID crisis or the great financial crisis, with their benefit being you're buying longevity insurance and gaining the mortality credits. However, insurance, like most products, have costs. And because of those costs, the origination costs, the commissions that the insurance people earn when they sell them, the embedded costs of running the product, and a return on investment for the issuers, generally people are better off building their own portfolio and managing that money and avoiding buying annuities until they're kind of mid, maybe to even later 70s. And I also recommend that you only buy deferred payout annuity rather than an immediate one, because you should budget for the expected and you buy insurance only for the unexpected. So we don't buy car insurance for oil changes. We buy them against a catastrophe like a major car accident or somebody dies as a result of our driving. We buy home insurance not for the $50 repair or $200 repair on the sink. So you have big deductibles. So what you should generally do if, say, you're a 70-year-old person, you budget for the next 10 years, your life expectancy at that point is, say, 80. It's probably more likely closer to 90. And then you buy insurance if you live longer than that. Those are called deferred payout annuities. And the big benefit of them is you get to retain much more flexibility. You put down a much smaller payment and you still get those mortality credits, and you get them concentrated where they're largest. All right, so we want to only buy what are called single premium annuities, and you want to focus on the tail risk, meaning living longer than expected. Specifically, index annuities, they should all be avoided. There's no reason to own them. You don't want to mix investment products with insurance products. You're just adding unnecessary costs. And you're also, in those cases, turning equity returns, which could be capital gains, into ordinary income when you're distributing out of that annuity. I have not found one single indexed annuity product that I think is worth considering, and I would stick with the single premium annuities and focus on deferred payout annuities.
Larry, can I ask you a follow-up question on that? So I am, let's say, adding to the advanced copy of Retire Secure for Professors. We're taking a hard look at QLACs, which in effect is a longevity annuity consistent with what you are talking about, but it is with IRA and retirement plan dollars, and presumably it would have the benefit of continuing to defer because there isn't a minimum required distribution on the QLAC. Do you have any opinion on QLACs, which to me seem like they're pretty much the same thing that you have in mind, which is longevity and basically longevity products or insurance, but it has the additional advantage, particularly for professors who tend to be so retirement plan heavy anyway. In other words, it might be harder for professors to have after-tax dollars going into these longevity annuity type contracts. What do you think of QLACs?
Yeah, I'm not an expert. Maybe Adam can add on that, but from my concept of what you've told me, that would fit perfectly. The only issue I would be concerned about is one you touched on, which is their RMD requirements. And if they're avoided by these contracts that it's allowed, then you're okay. Or if you could meet your RMD out of the other assets. But that's a perfect place to put them because they're also going to be tax inefficient and you can delay the payment. So
yeah, I've kind of ignored those up until relatively recently. And I wanted to add that chapter, and you don't have to take a minimum required distribution. So it might be an interesting alternative for somebody who, let's say, again, wants to guarantee an income in the event that they do outlive their what they would consider normal life expectancy.
yeah, and there are very low cost, plain vanilla, deferred people like Vanguard and others offer them. And we include them if people are interested. We run Monte Carlo simulations to show you the benefits. What are the odds, how it improves your odds of not running out of money. In return, you give up upside because they tend to have lower returns, of course, than other assets because they're safe money. But you do get those mortality credits. And when you're buying them in your 80s, for example, you can get very large numbers. And certainly much higher rates of return than you can get in today's very low interest rate environment. So that's the key, but you have to be willing to give up those assets. And you should be. If you die early, you didn't need the money anyway.
That's a very Kotlikoff's line, is that dead people don't have financial problems.
That's right.